I need to do a bit of a U-turn and admit where I've made a mistake here. I'm going to say some things to you and they're going to be pessimistic, but I promise to only do 8 minutes of pessimism. I have a timer there. The editor is here to keep me in check. We're going to do 8 minutes of pessimism and then I'm going to give you the solutions. My proposition and my change of heart revolves around the idea of narcissistic psychopathy being rampant. So for years, I've said it's extremely unlikely that the incidence of full-blown narcissistic personality disorder are going to get worse and worse because I was largely operating from not a trauma-only model, but a trauma-predominant model. And it was childhood trauma that I was focused on. And actually, I think I can build a very strong case for saying that no, the people in the world are becoming more narcissistic, are becoming more psychopathic, and that they should, allow me to explain in a moment, they should become more narcissistic and psychopathic. And not only that, but yes, we will see an explosion in the incidence of not subclinical narcissism, but actual clinically diagnosable narcissistic personality disorder for the pessimistic reasons I will give you now, and then I will give you the optimistic reasons afterwards. I think what's happening to humanity right now is that we are entering into a period of mass psychosis. Not that we've ever been a massively sane species anyway. If when we use a sanity versus insanity, let's broadly say that a person or a culture or a collective of people are on a spectrum of sanity and insanity, more sane if their map of reality is more in alignment with the reality itself. So if your map matches the territory, you are more sane. Your map will never perfectly match the territory, so you'll never be fully sane by these definitions. You can be more sane or less sane. The less sane you are, the more your map of reality deviates from the territory. So we are becoming, by that definition, less sane, and that is going to worsen. We're going to become less sane in the years and the decades to come. Part of the problem is it's a twofold problem, I claim, and it is largely, we would say, we're the victims, as a species, we're the victims of our own progress. We're the victims of our own technological progress. We're the victims of the civilization that we've created. So the human animal has evolved across long periods of time in environments of extreme hardship and extreme peril with very, very low resources. And so if you take that period of time and you say, what is this biological? Imagine we are alien xenobiologists. So you, I, everyone watching, we're aliens, highly evolved, highly civilized aliens, and we look at different alien civilizations. And today we pull up the one that says humanity, and we go, look at this. Isn't this interesting, the way that they've developed over hundreds of thousands of years, and when they were the species that came before them, millions of years. This is a biological entity that is largely adapted for very low resource environments that are very unstable with lots and lots of peril. It's very easy to die. It's very easy to get sick and be dead for most of human civilization. And then in terms of time, in terms of evolution, in the blink of an eye, it turns on its head. It's a high resource environment that's actually very, very safe. And where options previously were very, very limited, now options are practically limitless. All of this to say that we are the alien xenobiologists. We're studying humans as an alien species. We go, well, they're not now a good evolutionary match for the environment that they have created, because some of our less evolved alien cousins injected alien tech into the civilization too quickly. That's not what happened. I'm just joking. Somehow humans got to a point where the Renaissance became possible and the Industrial Revolution became possible, and the rate at which we advanced our technology, we could not adapt to psychologically or biologically. That's my claim. My next claim is that creates mass zucosis. So the zucosis is usually found in animals who are trapped in artificial environments. Zoo just means animal, zucosis from psychosis. You stick an animal in a zoo, you stick a killer whale in a swimming pool, a lion is stuck inside of, 40 square meters of roaming space, or a gorilla. They no longer have to hunt. They no longer have to fend for themselves. Everything that they are, as a biological machine, are evolved to do is now redundant, and they can't live a natural life. Yes, if they become infected, some human will come along and with technology, effectively alien to the lion, fire a tranquilizer gun into them, lay them on a table, give them an MRI scan, find out that they have, whatever they have, whatever illness, operate on them whilst they're sedated, and so on and so forth, where in their natural environment, they would have just gotten sick and died. Zucosis is when the animal is trapped in an environment that it is not adapted to evolutionarily. It is also said in evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology, not a good evolutionary match for the environment. The animal starts to go insane. It's horrible. I remember when I was a child having this horrible experience. We lived in Portugal, and to get stamped to stay in Portugal, we would take the ferry from Portugal over to Spain, spend an hour in Spain and go back, and you get stamped back in. There was a zoo there. It was the south of Spain. It was boiling hot, and they had all kinds of animals stuck in tiny cages. And I remember watching a fox or a fox-like creature jump on and off a bench non-stop. Just jumped on and off a bench, on and off a bench, on and off a bench. I was about 9. And I said to my father, why is he doing that? And he said to me, because he's trapped in a space that doesn't feel natural for him, and he's gone mad. And I was like, well, why doesn't someone let it out then, or do something? And he's like, well, because they're just here to make money from people observing them in a zoo, and that's how that works. It was horrifying. The fox jumping on and off the bench, or the lion tearing out its own fur, or you see some birds, they'll pull out their own feathers when they're in distress, so on and so forth. All forms of zucosis. In the animal-human world, the zucosis will be delusions of paranoia, delusions of grandiosity, highly self-destructive behaviors in the forms of addictions, in the forms of just alcohol abuse, drug abuse, unsafe hyper-promiscuity, in some cases even violence. We have a term now, how do you say this on YouTube, where people want to unalive themselves by cop. And it's a known meme that we have in human culture. There are people who want to not be alive, and so they choose to annoy the police and threaten the police to the point where the police will do the job for them. I think all of these are examples of zucosis. Then the other big factor in the mass generation of narcissistic psychopathy, is what we've done is we've said, as a species, post-industrial revolution, what should we do with humans? How should we organize society? And we said, well, we have an ideology and a political system and an economy that thrives on growth, and it thrives on purchasing. When money changes hands and people go to work and they earn money, and that money is taxed by the government, and then they take that money and they buy the special trinket, the doohickey that feeds the corporation pays the tax, the government wins again, and the person, the human animal, the human monkey goes, me work here, me get trinket, me happy, dopamine, I won. I got my reward. This is not subtly an anti-capitalist rant. It is a warning about consumer capitalism, cronyism, and corporatism. So you have zucosis, you have technology, and then you have this type of consumer capitalism where a dark decision is made. If you've watched Adam Curtis's Century of the Self, he lays this at the feet of Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, which I think is a little unfair. I think it's just he was an agent in this and he was massively influential, but it was a spontaneous emergence where people who were the merchant class said, look, if we sell people what they need, they buy up to here and they spend up to here. How do we make them give us more money? And it's like, well, there was no concept of it. Like, of course, people are only going to buy what they need. Are you dumb? It wouldn't be sane or rational to buy what they don't need. And so they asked a dark question and made a dark decision, which is, what if we convince them to buy things that they want but don't need? And then if you're a merchant and you're a practical person and all you've ever done is sold tins of beans your whole life, you'd sit there and scratch your head and go, you're talking mumbo jumbo. This is like black magic or something. You can't make someone buy beans that they're not planning on consuming. Enter psychoanalysis, psychology, Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud. If you can hack people's non-conscious drives, if you can hack the shadow, you can push people to buy things that they don't need by provoking darker unconscious drives inside of them, unresolved drives, lust, envy, sloth, rage. Most of these things are the 7 cardinal sins, you'll notice, but that's what happens in a post-religious society. And the encouragement and the indoctrination is technology is linear. Things are always going to get better, which is not true. Technology is always good. Every advancement always makes us happier and the world safer and the human being more peaceful. That also is not true. People must learn from an early age to buy things that they want, not what they need. And so we have to take the aperture of want. If you only want that much, you're no good to me. You're no good to the tax collecting government. You're no good to the corporations. You are useless if you are a humble person with simple wants. Literally useless. I do not want you in my system. I need to expand that aperture of want. I need to drive your desire forward. We have zucosis. We have being a poor evolutionary match for the environment that our technology has created. And then we have human beings deliberately propagandizing and inflaming the dark unconscious desires of other human beings to buy more for profit, for the purpose of profit. What the hell does all of this have to do with narcissistic psychopathy? You have a very, very stressful environment that's entirely traumatic for a human being to live inside of. Narcissism is the answer. If you create a grandiose delusional fantasy, you can say, this is great. I am part of this and it is wonderful. And it's better than anything we ever had in human history. That's a grandiose delusional fantasy. I'm in enormous pain. I'm alienated from my fellow man. I'm adapted to sit around a campfire every night under the stars. This is my evolution, your evolution, and talk to people I've known my whole life. Probably around 50 humans, maximum 150. That's a big tribe, 150 humans. I shouldn't be surrounded by strangers. I shouldn't be looking into the eyes of people that I don't know all of the time. It's not a good evolutionary match. Working in an office, you're not a good evolutionary match for. Walking around shopping malls trying to find things to buy because you think it's going to increase your place in this fake status hierarchy that's been created that everybody's buying into as part of the delusional, narcissistic, grandiose mass psychosis. Yes, the kind of sneakers, we call them in the UK, trainers, the kind of sneakers I wear really, really matter. And they really do say something about me. And they really are a symbol that I'm a higher status human being in a tribe that we don't even have anymore. Nobody knows you. You live in cities. So you're surrounded by strangers all the time. But Richard, you said narcissistic psychopathy. Why would it be psychopathic? I mean, in an environment that is safer, where people have more and it takes less effort for you to get the things that biologically you want, that shouldn't create psychopathy. By intuition, that should create empathy because, look, I have food, I have air conditioning, I have warmth if I need it, my physical needs are taken care of, I'm not in pain and cranky and suffering, so I should be kinder, right? The fact that we are now reduced down and instrumentalized as consumers and we are alienated and fractured from the human beings around us, and you see this everywhere. Everywhere is fracturing. Cohesion is disappearing. Families turn on each other. Tribal groups turn on each other. Businesses turn on each other. Friendship groups turn on each other. And that is the natural, it's not the natural way of things. It's the inevitable consequence of living like this. Because what you have is rigid, aggressive individualism. If you're a consumer, you consume for you. There's not many products out there that are sold on the basis of you consuming for the tribe. Maybe you would consume for the family. You might buy like a nice family car because that's for your family, or a house or something like that. But it's quite small units. So your coordinates, your ideology are encouraging self-focus and solipsism, psychopathy. Why? Why would all of this create psychopathy? I can see how it creates narcissism. Why psychopathy? My claim is that it's so unnatural and so massively traumatic that it burns away the more advanced parts of human nature. And it actually, my claim would be, will atrophy the parts of the brain that are related to empathy, moral decision-making, and having an intuitive sense of what another person is experiencing. Things like the ventromedial and the prefrontal cortex, things like the anterior insula, where we know from the neuroscientists in research, when people become more psychopathic, these areas shrink. We can watch the volume of the area shrinking because people just aren't using it. And like a muscle, it just atrophies. If our morality dies, if our empathy dies, if our sense of self-sacrifice dies, you have de facto psychopathy. So here's another claim I'm going to make that's not the clinical consensus, but I think I can defend it, would be something like the following. We talk about psychopathy as though it's a personality disorder. It's in the cluster B spectrum of personality disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. You know that. What if psychopathy is actually just the natural state of non-civilized man or woman, humans? I can't afford empathy. I'm freezing to death and saber-toothed tigers are trying to kill me. Dude, I'm sorry that you're dying in front of me, but I don't have any resources to share with you. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to effing die. I care about me. I care about my offspring. I care about moving my DNA forward into the future. I'd further claim that when wars break out, be they civil or otherwise in countries, after a period, and it's probably going to be quite a small period, when people go into a survival mode, a hyper-adrenalized, hyper-vigilant survival mode, it's actually adaptive for them to be psychopathic. You should become psychopathic. If war breaks out in your country, my country, civil or otherwise, being non-psychopathic will be maladaptive to an environment of high conflict and high peril. You would be better off not being too empathic. You don't want to be too empathic to the enemy, for sure, because if you are empathic to the enemy, they could kill you. Even empathy to your own side is going to be reduced a little bit because the prioritization of pain in a situation of immediate conflict could get both of us killed. So my friend is, let's not be too graphic. It's war. My comrade is injured and he is in pain. Do I drop my rifle and go, oh my God, he is in pain. I must stop the bleeding. The enemy is there. I can see them. They're marching down on me. Should I drop the rifle or should I say, dude, you're just going to have to fucking hold it together for a second here because I've got a higher order job to do. The thesis is that psychopathy is the natural state of all humankind when we can't afford to be kind. But we can afford to be kind. We're not in a state of war. We're not in a state of huge natural catastrophe. Here is the war. Here is the catastrophe. You, I, everyone we know are being bombarded with messages and information at a rate that has never, ever occurred before in human history. And it is enormously traumatic. And you're like, get out of here. What is this? Some boomer thing about phones destroying everything and social media? God, how traumatic is it to receive information? How many books do you think humans read throughout the major thick end of the wedge of human evolution? Writing has only existed for 5,000 years. How much news globally do you think most humans received out of most of human history? How would they receive it? You've got to literally get on a ship and then ride a horse for 7 weeks to get anywhere. I don't know. Somebody could look it up. If I want to send news to Jordan or Egypt and I live in Liverpool, what's the travel time? And how old is the news by the time it gets there? And how trustworthy is it coming from one person? Too much marketing, too much information, frankly, too much knowledge, but no wisdom to process it. Too much exposure to the horrors of the world. There will always be awful things happening somewhere on this planet. But in most places on this planet, and I know because I travel a lot, nothing's happening. Most of the time, people are just getting on with life. They're just doing their daily stuff. But when you have the technology and you're running a mass media corporation and I need eyeballs on my channel, because then, say if I can get 1 million viewers at 6 o'clock every night, I can go to an advertiser who needs to sell BMWs and go, every night we get 1 million viewers, give us this amount of money to advertise your new car. That's power. How do I get your eyeballs? I terrify you. I fill you with righteous indignation. I fill you with rage, and I provoke emotions in you. We're propagandized. We're over-informed, but under-wisdomed, and we're over-provoked. We're the most emotionally, psychologically manipulated generation in all of recorded human history. And it's so traumatic when combined with the unnaturalness of the environment, and when combined with broad-scale loneliness, crushing loneliness, alienation, total alienation, people being divided from people. We are tribal animals. We are pack animals. We need each other. Do you want to know, if you want to test this, if you want to know, I give you a test for this. Meet up with your friends and tune into your body when you meet up with your friends and see what happens. Do nothing. Meet for a cup of tea. Meet for a chat about nothing at all with no purpose. Go and do some low difficulty activity. I don't know, organize it. Go and play table tennis or take a walk or something. And notice how you feel before you see them and during your time with them. There is a reassurance. There is an anxiety cure. There is a depression cure in simply being with other people. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. Talk about the weather, talk about sport, talk about your favorite sneakers. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have human contact. All of this propaganda, all of this manipulation, all of this unnatural environment, all of this isolation is, I'm claiming, and it's a pretty strong claim, is as traumatic to the human animal as actual threat. If there was an actual threat in an all-out war, you would still be banded with your people against a common enemy. Yeah, you get your arms and legs blown off and it's not nice. But at a psychological level, there is us. We don't all love each other. We don't all have exactly the same politics. We don't all believe, but there's us and then there's them. Greater physical threat, lower psychological threat. In this environment, narcissistic psychopathy is an adaptive response. Narcissistic psychopathy is the answer to the environment that human beings have created. I say created as though it was done with intention. It's emergent. Sometimes there are conspiracies, for sure. Most of it is an unconscious emergent drive, and it's rooted, I personally believe, in a naive kind of narcissistic self-fascination with how clever we are. If we keep making better things, life will get better. Improve the AI, improve the motor vehicle, improve the machine gun, improve anything that's tech, improve it, and things will get better. There's no evidence for that. There's literally no evidence that if you're measuring happiness and if you're measuring peace and you're measuring social cohesion, that is true. There probably would be evidence up to a certain point, and probably it's going to be around, surprise, surprise, the amount that we can adapt to. Because we will adapt to all of the tech. We will. Eventually, we'll adapt to it. But evolutionary adaptations don't take place in, the Industrial Revolution to now, 4 generations, maybe 5, 6 at the outset. You can't have an evolutionary adaptation. It takes way, way longer than that. You need much more time and much more generations to have that adaptation. So narcissistic psychopathy is I'm not saying it's good, obviously. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm saying as a system thinker, as a systems thinker, and as an engineer, I look at the engine that's created and I go, no, that's actually the appropriate response to this environment. This is the appropriate. It's not good. It's not going to be good for humanity as a whole long term, but you can create the argument that for the individual, narcissistic psychopathy is adaptive. You will flourish in this culture that we've created the more narcissistic and the more psychopathic you are. Would you like proof of that? Look at the most successful people we have. They are the most narcissistic psychopathic, the most extremely narcissistic, delusional, grandiose, bullying, entitled, psychopathic, no empathy, massively goal-orientated, Machiavellian, the end always justifies the means. They'll do what it takes to get ahead. They're the winners in our culture, which indicates to me there's a system. We've created narcissistic psychopathy. I think I did more than 8 minutes of pessimism. I definitely did, right? Sorry about that. This is why I'm optimistic. What? This is why I'm optimistic. These problems are huge. and dangerous and existential. I don't think it's hard to fix at all. I don't think it requires a bloody revolution, a battle, a muscular grit your teeth energy to overcome. I don't think it requires any of that. I think it simply requires the quiet awareness that it is that. Sanity. When we see reality as it is, we are more sane than the people who can't see reality as it is. Sanity. When our map of reality largely matches the territory, we're sane. When our map of reality doesn't match the territory, we're largely insane. A quiet, resolute acceptance, this is what it is. And then making the appropriate micro decisions, little decisions, nothing dramatic, not yet, to say, okay, I see the direction we're moving in. I'm not angry about it. Who are you going to blame? Like, why humans liked fire? Because it made them warm and then they could see at night. And then they wanted more fire. And now we have cities of eternal light. They didn't like being invaded and killed. So they built walls and they built armies. And fine. Why not? If we go back to being the hyper-advanced alien civilization who are the xenobiologists who study more primitive alien civilizations, where's the logical misstep here? If you know it, tell me in the comments. Where's the logical misstep? As technology improves, why wouldn't you throw away religion? Why wouldn't you throw away mysticism? Why wouldn't you throw away any notion of God or reverence for God, or if you don't like the word God, maybe for nature, or reverence for life, or reverence for the planet? You would throw it away. You'd say, no, we're really smart. Look, we fly in the sky. If I want to kill someone really far away, I can push this button and poof, they're dead. I don't even hear the screams. It's amazing. Where previously I'd have to walk up to them and chuck a spear in them and they're like, oh my God, I'm dying. And they make all that noise. It's really irritating. You don't have to hear, see, smell anything. You can kill them from afar. Why wouldn't you do that? You'd have to have some other impulse inside of you that would seem to be non-evolutionary. Because if you look at what we're doing, it seems like we're following an evolutionary impulse. Here's my optimism. This is necessary. It's a phase. It's a phase. It's not a spirit. Maybe you could take this as a spiritual point. I assume life has purpose because when I observe life and reality, it seems to have a purpose. When I observe life and reality and I go, it seems to be purposeful, I permit myself philosophically to have a bit of a pontificate and to stroke my chin and say, well, what would that purpose be and what could that purpose be? Maybe the purpose is evolution, conscious evolution, physical evolution, psychological evolution. What drives evolution? What drives consciousness? What drives evolution is environmental pressure. What drives consciousness, largely speaking, is pain, is suffering, as the Vedantas would have it. The Sanskrit word is dukkha, D-H-U-K-K-A. Dukkha drives consciousness. When a person suffers or a people suffers, to escape the suffering, their consciousness, largely speaking, needs to elevate. They need to be smarter to get out of whatever is causing the suffering. There's the optimism. It's necessary. It's a phase. It's inevitable. And I choose to believe in faith, it's inevitable that we will get past this. Most people like Carl Jung. He said, the greatest threat to humanity by far is man himself. I 100% agree. I also think that it is an inevitable positive outcome. I think we will come through this. I think we are moving through this. And moments like this video, if you agree with the video and your emotion is like largely resonant with the message of the video, that means you have an impulse that says, yes, this is correct. So we are moving in a certain direction and it means we are evolving and it is something we're passing through. It would be narcissistic for me to think only I think this. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. It would be narcissistic for you to think only you think this. So a group of people think this. What percentage of the population? Maybe it's only 3% right now, but it's beginning. It's dawning. The sense that this doesn't work. This isn't working. We can't just keep slapping a smile at it and going, this is great. We're winning. Yay, humanity. No, obviously we're not. Obviously we're not. Something is wrong here and we can change it. Doesn't require revolution. Doesn't require big political movement. It's a simple noticing. You notice. You go, oh, that's what it is. Think locally. If everybody's thinking locally, and everyone on the planet is taking care of them, their friends, their family, their neighbors, and everyone across the network of the whole of humanity does that, we'll be fine. We don't need big movements where we go over there and fix it for other people. That's all a bit neurotic and kind of a savior complex. Do it locally. Start today. Unplug. Disconnect. Disconnect from the fake, weird, manipulative, electronic reality and go back to the only thing that's ever been real, the real reality, and the only thing that has ever mattered, which is people, nature, life. There's plenty, the final optimistic point, because I made many pessimistic points. We have everything we need here to be totally happy. We have all of the resources. We have all of the space. We have the environment is good. We are going to be good. It's not that we need to do something very, very clever to reach some promised land. It's that we need to stop doing things that are fucking stupid. We need to stop being fucking stupid. If we can stop being fucking stupid, everything's going to be fine. It's not a big effort. It's not that hard, really. And that's my final optimism, is that it's possible, it's inevitable, and the pathway there is an easy one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thank you. Ladies and gents, I have a new course. It is hopefully the last course I ever make. I don't think I'll need to make another one after this. I've set myself no time limits, no restrictions. I've treated it as though I'm doing face-to-face coaching with you. And so if I need to cover a topic and it needs to be covered thoroughly, I take the time to do it. At the moment, I think the course is around 15 hours long. If I need to make amendments afterwards, I reserve the right to do that. I will continue adding to this course for as long as I feel is necessary until I've gone, okay, that's it. That's me. I've said everything I can say about helping people to recover from narcissistic abuse. The course is a total roadmap, a total narcissistic abuse recovery roadmap from beginning, step by step by step by step by step to the end. The syntax of the course has been set carefully. You're going to ask in the comments, can I do this with my therapist? Can I do this with my counselor? Please do. Please do get the assistance of a qualified mental health practitioner, preferably one who has a very good understanding of narcissistic abuse, and they can go through the course with you and they can adapt bits of the course for you. If you do the course, I can't promise that all the problems will go away in a few months. What I would say is a realistic target is that inside of 2 months of working on the course, you would start to feel 80 to 90% better. That's realistic. And you might go, well, that would mean I only have 10% healing to do. Yes, my friends, but that last 10 might be an ongoing journey for the rest of your life. I want you to set your expectations properly. It's a very good course. I'm very happy with it. It's very thorough. It leaves no stone unturned, but it is a course. It's a course we do online. So there's a limit to how much it can actually do. Therapy is going to help as well. If you do these techniques and your therapist takes the techniques and adapts them for you specifically, it's going to be very, very powerful. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thank you.